You're welcome to Business Daily on Trust TV. My name is Chamun Dabeng. Let's talk numbers. We're starting off with the market this morning. You're welcome back, and once again, my name is Chamun Dabeng. As many of us will know, the topic of subsidy removal or not has been a major issue in Nigeria's history, so here we are again. Yesterday, we started off a discussion on the fuel subsidy removal, which the federal government had decided to suspend indefinitely. Unfortunately, we did not have enough time to finish up the discussion, and there has been a new development on the matter, as NNPC yesterday said that the sum of 3 trillion naira would be required to subsidize fuel. So far, the corporation has not given a cogent reason as to why the sum is required. Therefore, governors, including the Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Zainab Ahmed, have kicked against the requested amount. Joining me in the studio to talk about the implications of the suspension of fuel subsidy and the 3 trillion naira requested by the NNPC to subsidize fuel is political analyst Joseph Ago and economist Dr. Emeka Okengu. And before my guests make their comments on this matter, let's take a look at the comments made by Nigeria Labour Congress President Ayuba Waba.
And accountability, even in the management of what we call subsidy, and that can be done. Secondly, is actually the issue of encouraging the building of modular refineries to address even this issue of the hike in the price of diesel. Diesel have been fully deregulated, but is now beyond the reach of many transporters that transport goods and services, including agricultural products. Today, before you hire a truck from Lagos to Fanat, you will be hovering around 800,000 or 1 million naira. It ought not to be so if actually we have this policy in place. And also the conversion of our vehicles to compressed natural gas, CNG, which is what is happening globally. First, it is environmentally friendly. It's also part of our commitment to addressing the issue of pollution. So that is the way to go. A lot of commitment have been made in the past. They were never kept. So I think we should be able to hold government accountable to be able to drive some of those policies. So I think this is the whole argument and also the position that Labour is bringing to the table.
All right, so before we come to his comments, Dr. Okengu, let me ask, what was your stance on the issue of subsidy removal? Now, we already know Joseph Ago's stance. So far, it's been, it's a good thing, but at the same time, it's going to be a bad thing in the long run. But I would like to know your own opinions on the issue.
Well, you first need to put a definition to what you call subsidy.
Okay.
As presented, as is, you don't have subsidy. Because subsidy is actually a production-based instrument. What you have is price differential, and it's important you understand it. And the difference between subsidy you put in a product and subsidy you put in production is that you are talking about something somebody must pay. It's already in the market, it has a value, it has a price. Now, production-driven subsidies don't necessarily need to come in cash. They could come in taxes. All right? So what you have is I am producing, I have a product, the market price is X, and because I want my people to get it at Z, I am ready to pay that price differential, okay? And this is why each time they say, oh, they've removed this subsidy and it's coming back. No, they haven't removed anything. What I've just simply done is to now take what you might be able to call a ceiling or a limit, where no matter what the product comes to, we are going to be paying that differential. And that's why some people now decided to be a little bit innovative and then called it under recovery.
Okay.
It's important you get, so a lot of people don't understand it. And you can't subsidize what you don't produce. That's ultimately what I'm trying to make you understand, okay? You can only subsidize what you're producing. Now, the moment it's some other person's product and you try to put some subsidy in it, then what you're just simply doing is that you're paying at that going rate, okay, but you're not paying the difference for somebody to be able to get it at a lower cost. That's what it is. So I don't know if that sets the perspective, you know, for us to be able to have an understanding, because the next thing I'm going to, oh, okay, why are they asking for 3 trillion?
Yeah.
Okay? Because you don't even know what's going to happen next, okay, you can't even put a proper figure to this. More so, you're discounting the 3 trillion against your dollar. So each time I have this conversation, I say, listen, this product that you're buying in Naira is produced in dollar. It's important you also know that, okay? So the final cost is going to be discounted against the value of the dollar. And then this is another, you know, product, if you may, that you have little or no control over. So if today the dollar is at an official rate of 4.15, and then you have, you know, the parallel market or, you know, the floating rates at about 500 and something, you now have this challenge of what is somebody really able to discount and appreciate. That's another second problem. So if you're going to be saying, let's keep 3 trillion, and then tomorrow the dollar jumps to 1,000, your 3 trillion is become worthless. Yeah. True? Okay, so it's in calculating this subsidy story, what's important is that we must be looking at volume, okay, and then you looking at now utilization capacity, and then looking at what you're getting out of these, you know, volumes, because take it or leave it, PMS as it were, it's more of some recreational, you know, than anything else, okay? If you look at like what Ayuba was trying to say, now, the real challenge to your economy are those things that move your goods on large volumes. And then you're getting a big truck, biggest we have in Nigeria, has a maximum capacity of 30 tons. Now, costing 1 million to move stuff from north to south. What it means is that if it's taking a maximum of 600 bags of peanuts, or 600 bags of maize, or 600 bags of yam, or whatever, that's the maximum you can take, because it takes a maximum of 30 tons, right? Whatever value you have, if that maize, you bought it at 100,000, you are going to be selling it at 100,000 plus your profit. Now, the real deal is that the real cost of that maize now is the 1 million that you're paying to move the maize from Jos to Lagos. So this is where you have a challenge. It's not with what it is you're doing with your petrol. I mean, where we have a major issue is in our bulk movement. And this is where, again, if we have time to get into it, we'll now be talking about intermodal transportation and then you know, what you call the volume for value systems.
All right, there was talks about converting Nigerian cars to basically accommodate CNG. But anyway, we will get into that discussion. Mr. Joseph, now what do you think about the 3 trillion naira that was requested by the NNPC in order to subsidize fuel? I mean, we talk about, we ask the question, what next? Is this the next thing that Nigerians are going to be facing? And looking at it, even from the video that we played yesterday during the show, we saw a lot of rejoicing from Nigerians, you know, being happy about the fact that the subsidy removal has been suspended. Are Nigerians celebrating this prematurely?
I think the 3 trillion naira that NNPC is requesting for subsidy, first of all, is you can't substantiate the number. And the number is just, I mean, we love round figures in this country. So the question is, how was that figure, or where was that figure derived? And what calculation or what formula was used to come about that figure? But beyond that, the bigger challenge is that at the end of the day, Nigerians will still bear the cost of subsidy, whether it is there or not. Now, 3 trillion naira, already there's plan, the government was insinuating that it would go borrowing more in order to foot the bills as regards a subsidy. So, generations down the line will be faced with paying back these loans. Then again, because of this increased or ballooning cost of subsidies, like you said, it's price differential, but what we're used to in here in Nigeria is we call that subsidy. So this ballooning cost of subsidy would also deprive other sectors of the economy. Very useful capital that can drive them. Infrastructure is there. We have security issues. We have problems around healthcare. We have problems in education. So in other words, we are subsidizing petrol at the cost of development in other sectors of the Nigerian economy. All
right, so my question is this. Even based on the plan that the government had initially had, now, they come off and they say, okay, we want to remove subsidy removal in order to save money for the economy and put that money into different sectors. But even with the solution that the government had come up with, that is to give 40 million poor Nigerians a 5,000 naira transport palliative, how much of a difference is this decision actually making based on their initial plan and what's going on now?
So who's poor?
That's the question. It was the question that many people actually asked. Who are the poor Nigerians?
No, it's very easy to calculate. Okay? If you are earning 50,000 and you have 6 kids, aged parents, 2 younger sisters living with you, that's 10 people. Now, by the time you divide your 50,000 amongst those 10 people, okay, you're probably going to be getting each of them 500 naira or something, I don't know, some crazy figure. Would you call yourself rich?
It's kind of hard to do that.
Okay, because you have a car, you even put the cost of fuel in your car, you haven't put the cost of your makeups, your dresses, your cards, your hospital bills. So in deciding and defining who is poor, it's important you also put the word vulnerable. Okay, so that you can now, put this special class of people. And again, you'll be shocked that those people you think are vulnerable are a lot more comfortable than you are, because they live in their own houses, albeit hot. Okay, they don't need to run generators. Okay, they eat their own food, right? They're able to live basically. But is that the minimum we should be looking at in this 21st century? No. But comparatively, you find out that woman who probably, fries bean cakes every morning, at the end of the day, goes home every day with a profit of 3,000. Pretty you on television every day, by the end of the month, you get 50,000 and your real value is 500 naira. So who's poor? Okay, now, so in defining poverty, we need to be a little bit more artistic and innovative. That's the point I'm trying to make. So in doing this, the first thing you do is that you look at what can be able to make life a little easier for everybody, and that's what you call mass transportation. That's where it all begins, okay? The moment you understudy what other societies do, like in England, for instance, they're what they call the travel cards, okay? You go in there for 1 month, you can buy a travel card. I don't know how much it is now, maybe for about £27 or something, and it takes you across all the whole zones of the UK.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't take you into the train, it takes you into the tram, it takes you into the bus. Okay, and now I think I've introduced the Oyster. Now, what that means is that against your 50,000, you can actually begin to plan your life. Because you can put 2,000 naira in your car, And by the time you're stepping out, it shows red. And the next thing you see this very long queue. And you need to be, on set. And then a guy walks up to you and says, Madam, can I show me? And then he says, how much? And you start negotiating 5,000, 10,000. Okay, so now this sounds a little bit theoretic, but that's the situation.
That's the reality.
So in planning, and each time I have a conversation about, redesigning Nigeria, I say to them, everybody talks about these other sectors of the economy. And I'm saying, no, there's only one economy. Okay, and until you're able to get those synergies, those meeting points that now make it an integrated solution, there's not one that can be weak. I mean, once you have a weak link, you can actually pull down the whole train. So Awaba again mentioned the CNG, and strange enough, CNG has been here for more than 25 years. You'll be shocked. Okay?
That's actually interesting to know.
Yes, the NNPC had established CNG stations. Okay, I had actually, a long time ago when I was doing some consultancy for one of the sectors of the armed forces, we had gone to the NNPC to say, why don't you start this CNG thing with government vehicles? Okay, and I gave statistics of everybody in the world is on CNG, and it's truly, truly safe. As safe as the gas cooker you sleep and wake up with in your house. And accidents happen, like I keep telling everybody, because they say, how safe is gas? And I say, how safe is petrol? You're sitting in a car that has 50 liters of petrol in it, smoking cigars, running your AC, staying in traffic, and you feel safe. So, point I'm trying to make without digressing much is that I think we're not getting a holistic picture of what we should be able to do. And then the beginning point will be, if you're talking about putting in other sectors, and then the Nigerian person is the ultimate, recipient, right? How many are you in Nigeria? Where do we live? What do we do? Do we have those statistics? So we have this, in quotes, everybody, a lot of people are imagining things, a lot of extrapolations, a lot of, okay, we think. I don't know if it was you that talked about a population of 200 million people. How did you get to that number?
Remember that at this point.
No, how you could also not be up to that. But what is important is that even if you're 300 million, and then there's this framework that captures everybody, and then we're talking about planning against what you call, your per capita incomes. Now, it makes life a lot easy for us.
Because you would have exact figures, or at least a proper approximation of those figures.
Because one will get drilled down into this, the next thing somebody is going to tell you is that, oh, we are producing 1.8 million barrels of oil every day. Is it yours? That's another story of another day. Because out of that 1.8 million, what you have as a country, as your share, is about 450 or 420, thousand barrels a day. The rest of it belongs to those who actually own the oil. So it's complicated, and it's easy. That's the point. That's my struggle. So in trying to say, oh, 3 trillion is much. Now, are you discounting 3 trillion against $405 per dollar? Are you discounting against 500 per dollar? Are you also now imagining what's going to happen in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 days or a month? So, I mean, what statistics are you discounting against? And then why would we be talking about 3 trillion naira as subsidy when 3 trillion naira can actually put in every community? And if I'm talking about community, I'm talking about committee of states now. Okay, at least on a contiguous basis, we can develop 12 modular refineries, okay, that can be co-shared by maybe 3 or 4 states sitting together. 2 trillion will very comfortably do that. And then these refineries can now begin to now produce maybe 10,000 barrels a day. But further, more than that, that's not even as critical as even designing simple pack and write solutions. So each time I want to talk about these things, it's so jumbled up. You don't even know where to start.
Because there's just a lot that has been going on in that area.
But it's easy to solve. Pack and write. I woke up this morning and, hey, my car consumes a lot of fuel. I drive an 8-cylinder, very big car. And I got on board and I'm here. All right, so if you had park and ride, which is what every other person is talking about, if you had your transportation systems and are functional, why would I be struggling to go and put 10,000 naira in a car and I start it and in the next 2 days it's showing
It's all done. All right, let's hear from you, Joseph.
I think, like he said, there are places, or this is anyway my reading. There are places where poor people congregate. You know, one of those places is mass transportation. So we should be. I know I've said that there's not a right time to remove a petrol subsidy. What we should be focused in doing is creating that right condition so that the removal is not problematic at the end of the day. So there are places where poor people congregate. Mass transportation is one. So before even motoring subsidy removal, there should have been investments in mass transportation. Another place where a lot of poor people congregate is staples. You know, rice, gari, beans. So we should have had a very comprehensive agricultural framework that addresses the widespread availability of these staples. Another place where poor people congregate, moving to healthcare, is we're talking about malaria. We have high malaria rates, maternal and infant mortality. We have there are disease sets that a lot of poor people share. The government should have had a comprehensive healthcare system that addresses that. Even, menstrual hygiene or menstrual health, there should have been that comprehensive health before talking about petrol subsidy. Because once you remove these, all these other points will begin to experience spikes. Rice will increase in the market, beans will increase in the market, gari will increase in the market, the cost of always would increase in the market, the cost of malaria drugs would further increase. A lot of people would resort to very, very crude traditional methods of treating the illness.
Well, the essence of the subsidy removal was for, the money to extend to all of those sectors that you're actually talking about. That's the health sector, the education sector, and all of that. It was supposed to be moved into those areas. At least that was the reason that was initially given. But
there's the problem. The problem is the government has not shown sufficient credibility with past practices of addressing the problems in the sector. So if you have not done so much with X and Y amount of money, why should we trust you with these monies that will be gotten as a result of subsidy removal?
All right, so we only have a few minutes left before we have to round up the show. But my question is this, looking at this situation, for me, what I thought was, how would this have an effect on our revenue generation capacity and also our ability to service the sovereign debts that we have today?
Revenue has nothing to do. Revenue generation, if we may, has nothing to do with removing subsidy. Revenue generation has everything to do with creating prosperity pathways. Okay? From your name, you come from Plateau State, don't you?
Yes, I do.
All right. I had taken on your governor one time, and I said, each time you drive up that slope, okay, looking at left and right until you get all the way, to driving into the city of Jos, you're looking at hundreds and hundreds of kilometers of lush greens.
Yeah.
And I said to him, would you imagine if you had about 2 million heads of cattle here, what it would do to the economy of Jos? Okay, and how many people it can take? Do you reckon what can happen if those pits that people drink and go to fall into are now converted into articulated, points where they can now begin to feed greenhouses, okay, or technology-based food production systems? You know how many millions of tons of potatoes that can be produced from where you come from, and how many rich people you will make out of those people you call vulnerable? So I think it's all about not understanding what to do, and then everybody keeps saying, "Oh, you know what? Let us create more jobs." No, you create prosperity patterns. That's what we need to do, and that's where the problem is.
All right, Joseph, before we round up.
So the points the government needs to work on its credibility. The government needs to be more transparent. You know, we have seen how funds have gone into sectors and a lot of these monies cannot be accounted for. You know, the government is, I mean, the thinking in Nigeria, here in Nigeria, is that for every problem, all that we need to do to solve the problem is to throw money at it. But we need to have that comprehensive plan that really, I mean, aside the fact that we need monies to really drive these policies need to be well articulated. And people need to, I mean, the general public need to be carried along all the stages of that entire policy formulation. You know, they just sit up there and just imagine policies. The policies should take into account the Nigerian avatar, whether it's poor, the poor man, the poor Nigerian avatar, the middle class Nigerian avatar, the Nigerian avatar that's a student. So that comprehensive policy has to be there. And of course, the refineries, I don't know what the government, because we have spent monies that should have built even more refineries in turnaround maintenance. The government should come clean on how much has been spent. I mean, the contractors that have been saddled with responsibility of turning around these refineries, and most importantly, all the people that have handled subsidy so far. We need to really know how much petrol they have supplied us as a nation and how much they have gotten in return.
All right. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to continue our discussion, but let me just quickly thank my guests in the studio. Thank you so much, Dr. Okengu, for being a part of the show, and thank you so much, Mr. Joseph, for being a part of the show. And to our viewers out there, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow us on our social media platforms. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at Trust TV News. And, well, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Come back again for more Business Daily. Let's talk numbers.